Hi, my name is Bing from Wonder Bing Travel, and I've been solo road tripping for years. I have made every mistake in the book, money and otherwise. I've done money well, and I've done money poorly. And I want to talk to you today about making a budget for your road trip. Whoa, I know, that immediately brings visions of stress and things like calculators and yuck. But it doesn't have to be like that because you know what? Budgeting is beautiful. So the idea of road tripping and oh my gosh, it's going to be so unpleasant and I'm going to have to keep track of every dime I spend and then every day I'm going to have to write it down and it's all going to suck the fun right out of it. No. And no, it doesn't have to be like that. Let's get rid of that right away. Budgeting is beautiful and having a budget is beautiful. You know why? Because it creates freedom on the road so that you have the freedom to seek and enjoy the wonder of everything that is in front of you. And so you can take off your monster money hat and you can put on, wait for it, your happy camper hat. It's a much better way to travel. Today I'm going to share a 3-step, super simple approach to budgeting for a financially freeing road trip. Budgeting is one part of what I call the pillars of planning. There are 6 of them. As a solo road tripper especially, there are things that you need to consider prior to setting off towards the sunset. Things that will make you comfortable and confident if you plan for each of them. I'm going to put that full list below, and this video is just part of a playlist that includes a video for each of those pillars. So make sure you watch all of them. I also do a deeper dive into each of these topics, much deeper actually, in my upcoming book. It's called There's Wonder Around the Bend. It's a inspiring guide for solo road tripping, and it's really designed for women to help them confidently and comfortably take that step into a solo road trip and to seek wonder in the glory of God's creation, because that's really what's at the heart of the message of Wonder Bing Travel. You have to do all the practical things so that you can get to that beautiful, wonderful freedom experience. Today I'm going to offer you a free chapter of that book, and you can download it by going to wonderbingtravel.com/sneak peek and download and enjoy the entire chapter. It's called Going Solo, and it really gives you an overview and all the juicy benefits of what a solo journey looks like. It's all the good stuff that you probably haven't thought about. So creating a budget before you hit the road can truly be the difference between carefree fun and stress and anxiety on the road. Stay with me here. Budget is blessing. So I can help you alleviate the stress about spending and affording by sharing what I've learned along the way. I'm not going to tell you how to manage your money, but I can offer you tips and tools that I learned in my years of budgeting for road tripping adventure, and then that 3-part system that makes it all super simple. Okay, so the 3 primary categories of road trip spending, which are these 3 simple steps you need to pay attention to and plan for. The first one is stuff you buy in advance, so advanced spending, advanced purchases. The second one is in-trip purchases or en route purchases. And the last one is an emergency fund. I know, it sounds so exciting, but an emergency fund will be your best friend if you need it, when you need it. So let's talk about advanced purchases first. So for your first road trip, it's likely you're going to be in the market for some bigger items before you pack your car. And I'm all for borrowing whatever you can, but then there's times when you really just want to have your own stuff. Okay, so you're going to plan this trip. No matter how meticulously you plan this trip or haphazardly, you're not going to have everything you need, even if you think you do. Don't sweat it, because you're probably going to stop at Walmart somewhere in the first 24 hours. It almost always happens to me, no matter how well I plan. Don't worry about not getting it right the first time, because you know what? You're not going to. Let me give you a list of some of the bigger items that I've budgeted for over the years, so at least you have some things in mind. Yours could be very different. Clothing and shoes, especially specialty things like for hiking. Coolers, investing in a really good cooler. Car maintenance, so this is ahead of time, wanting to make sure everything's topped off and my tires are rotated, et cetera, before I go. Packing containers. tech items like chargers, or maybe you want to invest in a new camera, something like that. Also pet related prep. So if you travel with your dog, and I do, travel often with Lexi the Golden, then there are certainly things that make the experience better for both of us by some things that I invest in before we go. And also camping gear if that's your thing. And if it's not, you can check that one right off the list. Okay, let's move on to the in-trip spending. So here you are, you're off, you're so excited, and you think you have all the things planned out, but then there's definitely, obviously, things you're going to buy while you're on the road. And it's really much easier to manage that spending before you go, and it's a little trickier once you're on the road, because as much as you want to plan, you just don't know all the things, right? So for most road trips, the biggest outpouring of money is, like I said, the big three of food, lodging, and gas. But there are exceptions. So if you're planning like a trip to theme parks like Disney or something like that, or you're going to see a bunch of Major League Baseball games, or you're doing some other major sporting event, or lots of spa visits, those things can add up in a hurry, so just budget for them. I think there's really 6 major categories for spending when you're on the road. I'll put this list in the description below as well. So those categories are food and lodging and gas, which we've already talked about. I'm going to add tolls to that one, to the gas one. And then on the other side of it is entry fees, keepsakes, and what I just will call additional fun. So there's a whole video that's going to be done on food and also on lodging, so I'll just say a little bit here about each of those. But it's worthwhile to consider your eating habits and your needs in advance, as well as the kinds of places that you think you might want to stay. For food, chances are you're going to be in the car a lot, so depending on your choice of routes, your eating options can vary wildly, just like your lodging options can vary wildly. So in addition to whatever pre-trip planning you might do, be sure to estimate about how much you think you will stay in a hotel, or how much you'll eat out, how much you'll need when you replenish at the grocery store. And don't forget things like coffee shops and wineries and breweries or other similar establishments like that. So those 2 things definitely add up. So those are 2, food and lodging. Keep in mind that prices of gas can fluctuate wildly from month to month, but then also from state to state. You might pay a full $1 more in one state than, like, a western state or an eastern state tend to be much more expensive than southern states and central states. Check it out ahead of time. There are apps for that. I can link a couple things below as well. Okay, entry fees. This is a broad category, but chances are it's going to apply to you in some way. Just consider the places that you plan to visit that might require an entry fee. And that's a huge range, because it could be something like national parks, or maybe you're going to a music festival or a county fair, or heading out to visit, like I said, Major League Baseball parks. And prices can vary significantly in all of those things. So just, there is such a thing as paid fun, and this is the category for that. So just, pay attention to that a little bit. The next one is keepsakes, and maybe this will not be a big one for you. I can personally get myself in trouble because of things that I love and I tend to look for when I am out and about and traveling. And one of those things for me is pottery. I love really good pottery, and so inevitably I will come home with more dishes than I had when I left. So I don't know what that might be for you, but it's easy for me to blow my budget there, depending on how much I shop. Having a specific figure in my budget really protects me from myself. The last one here is spontaneous fun. So there's going to be things you just don't think of until they happen. And you know what? That's part of the wonder of a road trip. And in many cases, wonder is free, but occasionally you're going to want to explore somewhere unexpected. I've definitely incurred unexpected fun in the form of like kayaking or paddleboard rentals. So I just try to pad my budget a little bit for those fun additions so that I can enjoy a little bit of indulgence every once in a while without the guilt that goes with it. Okay, so those are the 2 big ones, pre-trip spending and during trip spending. The last one is super important, and it's one that we easily ignore until we're sorry we did so, and that's the emergency fund. It can be scary when things go wrong, and occasionally something is going to go wrong. And in some cases, problems come with price tags. You can't anticipate every circumstance, but if you budget in advance, that will really pay off for you. It's kind of like an insurance policy that you may or may not need, right? But it does provide peace of mind. And there's really two varieties of emergency funds that I suggest. Hopefully you're not going to need either of them and you'll come home with just as much as you left with, but it's a good idea to plan for both. And the first one is just cash. So keep some money. I suggest between $100, $200, $300 hidden in your car for emergencies. A good rule of thumb is to have like enough money for a hotel room or just someplace to stay or a meal and a tank of gas. And then for bigger issues, such as like major car problems, make sure that you have access to a large amount of money, whether it's on a credit card or whether it is you have a funded emergency situation in your bank account to cover expenses, because you don't want to carry significant amounts of cash with you, and I recommend that you don't do that. And again, it's likely you won't need to access it, but there's peace of mind knowing that you have that emergency fund if it becomes necessary. Okay, and that's it. It's those three things, right? It is pre-spending, during spending, and emergency fund. Those three things, whether you're a seasoned money manager or you're just contemplating your first budget, if you invest time in a bit of research in advance of your road trip, all of that's going to ensure fewer financial surprises and a lot more peace, which is what you're looking for on your road trip, right? Please comment and ask questions below. I really want to know how I can help you do all of these things, and I'll see you on the road.